What's up, game players? How are you guys doing? Welcome to another episode of the Analog Circle Podcast. Episode number 69. I am your host, Kiaun Mitchell. Let me stop playing. Anyway, I want to truly welcome you guys and thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Analog Circle Podcast. Now, as always, you can reach the show. You can leave your feedback, your questions, your answers, two different ways. You can either call in at 443-261-4607 on the Analog Circle hotline, or you can feel free to email the show at the Analog Circle Podcast at gmail.com. Now, guys, let's get into it. I got some amazing news, man. First off, let me set the scene, brother. Let me set it up real quick. All right. All of you guys that listen to the show, it's no secret. I'm a truck driver. That's what I do for a living. That's my occupation. I enjoy my job 80% of the time. It's a good job. It's a little, I guess you could say, it can get a little frantic depending on where you got to deliver. Some places are tighter than others when you got to do some city driving. So it's not all ice cream and sugarcane cones, folks. So it was one of those weeks. I was in Norwalk, Connecticut. I had to deliver at a Stu Leonard's over there. And that Stu Leonard's that I had to deliver to, it was very, very tight to get out. Not necessarily hard to get in, but very, very hard to get out of. It's a concrete wall. When you're leaving out, it's a small, narrow, not an alleyway, but a driveway. Way too big for me to be able to make the turn. So I have to go there. I go and talk to the guy and I ask him, I say, look, truck is a little too big. Can I hand unload it? Give me a U-boat. Let me go ahead and take it up your ramp. Is that cool? He says, no, you got to drive the truck in here. That's it. I need you on camera. We need to see the freight coming in on the dock. End of story. So for me, I want to make the delivery, but at the same time, I don't want to damage the tractor or the trailer. And I know it's going to happen because it's tight. Everybody else that was delivering there had shorter trailers and had day cabs. A day cab is basically the smaller truck that doesn't have an extended back, no sleeping quarters or what may have you. So I just left. I called my dispatcher. I told him, look, we got two options here, buddy. Either I can deliver and I damage the truck, or I leave and I just have to come back with the freight. They said, well, go ahead, Kiaun. Get out of there. Leave. Go to the next stop. So it was that kind of week. I went to the next stop. Everything was good. I didn't get back until Saturday at 9 o'clock at night. And I'm usually home no later than 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. So it was a very trying day. Very trying week, actually. Did almost 2,000 miles for the week, which was a good time. Enjoyed myself. Yeah, not really, but it was still good. It was good. So I get home, I'm tired, I'm beaten, just ready to just really hit the bed. And I get in, and all of a sudden, my girl, shout out to her. Renee, you are incredible. She tells me, when you finish downstairs, there's something in the back room for you, no big deal. So for me, I love gummy bears. I'm a gummy bear junkie. I love gummy bears, fruit cocktail, mix that up together. Woo! You got a great daggone snack. So I'm thinking there's some gummies up in the room. It's probably some Jolly Ranchers, something like that. So I get back there and I see a GameStop bag, folks, on the bed. GameStop. I said, oh, what is this? I open up the bag, guys. To my surprise, guess what is in the bag? I'll give you 2 seconds to guess what was in the bag. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Man, it was a Nintendo Switch in the bag. She bought me a Nintendo Switch. I could not believe it. I wanted to do a cartwheel in the house. I just don't think that would have been beneficial for the furniture, so I didn't do it. But my goodness, I wanted to. I couldn't believe it. She just said, I was thinking about you. I think you needed this in your life, so I got it for you. I mean, out the blue. Man, you guys, you don't understand. It couldn't have came at a more perfect time, because what's coming out later on this month? Mario Odyssey. And I will be the first. I will not be a hypocrite. I will not be that guy. I will tell you front and center, I have been hard on Nintendo, but I have said that I thought they were turning around a new leaf, and I said I was going to get a Switch. I didn't know I was going to get one this soon, though. So I'm just very happy. I'm going to get Legend of Zelda. I'm going to go ahead and give it a try. Everybody's talking about it, saying it's such a great, great game. You got to get it. So I'm going to get that, and I'm going to get Mario Odyssey when it comes out. It's still in the box. I haven't even opened it up, guys. But the triangle, the gaming triangle is complete now. I have the Xbox One. I have the PlayStation 4. And the newest edition, the Nintendo Switch. So I will be able to talk about all 3 consoles. The Xbox One X, man, we'll see what happens with that one, brother. I don't know. Let's pause on that for a minute. But either way, I can still play the same games. But I'm very excited. It's quite a few games on the Switch I want to check out. So that was basically what happened to me this week. It was a rough work week, but my goodness, let me tell you, fellas out there, brothers, if y'all got a good one, man, hold on to her, brother. Don't let her leave. We know when we got a good woman. You know when you got a good woman. Hold on to her, brother, because there's somebody out there that's waiting to get their paws on her, brother. I'm holding close to mine. Hug mode. Bear hug mode, brother. Anyway, though, let me tell you guys what I've been into this week. Cuphead. Holy smoke, brother. Cuphead has been driving me up a god doggone wall right now, but I love it. The game is so very well done. This may be the first game that I can recall, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but this has to be the first game that I can remember that had hype behind it. It got delayed. It was in development for years and years and years, and it releases, and all across the board, everybody gives it a good score. That usually never happens. Whenever a game is delayed and it's hype behind it, it's a lot of buzz, it has traction. Usually when a game like that comes out, when it does, it's not what we what we thought it was going to be cracked up to be. Cuphead, I will say this. First and foremost, yes, the game is hard. It's punishing, but it's very, very fair. It's a game I can honestly say that despite the difficulty of it, when you make a mistake, you know it was your fault. Not once that I feel like I was ever cheated out of actually not beating one of the bosses. I felt like the onus was on me. I didn't move fast enough. I didn't memorize the pattern good enough to be able to beat the boss. So I have to give them a lot of credit. What is the team? MNDR, I believe. I hope I did not butcher their name. I feel like I did, though. But that team, Microsoft, do yourself a favor, brother. Pick that studio up, MDHR. Pick those guys up. Now, I don't know if they want to be picked up. They might want to stay independent. But if Microsoft has any chance of acquiring them, get them. Because they have proven that, yes, the game took a long time to come out. I would say it was highly anticipated to the people that were interested in it, and it delivered. The art style is beautiful. The character models are great. It really gives you that 1930s feel, all the way down to the popping sound in the background, down to the static that you see on the screen, popping lines, from the 1930 cartoons. Just fantastic. Sound design, everything. MDHR, for this to be a debut game for this studio, I think they have done A1 work. And I understand it took them 4 years to get this done. And we all know about the developers, some of them having to not necessarily put up their house, but I think taking out a second mortgage to make sure that this game was a success. Look, it sold 125,000 on Steam alone. If you do the math, that's roughly 2 million, I guess $2 million, maybe 2.5. I could be a little off on my math, but I'm just saying they made over $1 million on this game already, and that's not including the Xbox sales. I would say this was a big success. This has been a big pickup for Microsoft. I'm very glad that they had the foresight to see this as being a big game for their platform, and my hat goes off to them. But more importantly, my hat goes off to Studio MDHR for giving us such a great game to experience. Hard as ever, but such a fun time. And when you finally beat the boss, when you finally knock him out, oh my goodness, you feel like you want to do a victory lap around your bedroom. Like, man, I finally got him. It's like they're antagonizing you every single step of the way. And when you finally get them, oh man, it's great. Great feeling. But that's basically where I've been at this week. Coming up in the next few weeks, I will be getting into the Switch. So some thoughts will be coming down the pipe for that very soon. Now, guys, I wanna, this is gonna be a bit of a lengthier show. I've been trying to keep the podcast to an hour. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I want to tell you guys this. I want to add another part to the podcast. I do. Because I love, like I said, I love hearing from the listeners out there. You guys make the show for me. Honestly, whenever someone writes in and I'm able to read their email, shout out to Cody Clark for always doing it. It's a pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure to hear from you guys. So I would love to propose another section of the podcast where I would love to hear what you guys are playing. If you have any recommendations or it's a game that you're into for the week, I would love to hear your thoughts on it because I'm only one person. I can only cover so much during a week period, especially being a truck driver, not being home every day. So I would love to get you guys feedback on that. And as always, you can, like I said, call it in or you can email it. Feel free. But guys, with all of that being said, I want to get into the feedback section and we're going to do it live right now. Hold on. Let me pull it up. And I'm not going to edit any of this out because I'm just not going to do it. We family. Y'all have heard me a lot, over 69 different episodes. I'm not editing this out. I'm going to go ahead and go to the email right now and see what's going on, because I know my guy, Mr. Cody Clark, wrote in, and here we go. I'm finding it right now. Yeah, here we go. All right, Mr. Cody Clark. Here we go. He wrote in. Here it is. Here it is. All right. Now, last week, I was asking you guys, is cross-platform, is it a good idea? Is it the next evolution in gaming? I was against it. I said, no way. I don't think it should happen. But Mr. Cody Clark, shout out to him, and shout out to Goose, the Goose. Shout out to him. He had some different ideas. He says, so Goose and I had a conversation about crossplay. He had talked about how much it would rock to see your friends on the Switch, Wii U, etc., while you are on your Xbox or on your PlayStation or PC. I mean, I can see my friends on PC playing Overwatch of Hearthstone or Netflix when they are logged on to their live account. It is so cool to see what they are doing. I admit it. Based on people's financial or family situations, they may not be able to have every single system or whatever. I think having the ability to play with 360 and Xbox One games or whatever games just makes it more fun. You get to have a community that is more than the sum of its parts. When Xbox Live first went live back in like 2003, 2004 or whatever, I was living in New Mexico. There is nothing in that blasted state. That is Cody. That is not me. In that blasted state. But after a while, we at least had broadband. It wasn't amazingly fast, but it worked for Xbox Live. I got to spend quite a few hours doing Rainbow Six with Goose and my brother on our Xboxes. It would be an amazing thing for Nintendo to be like, yeah, sure, let's use your infrastructure, Microsoft. You have been doing this for 15 years. You know what is up. I think it is the first part of the holy grail of gaming. Before one system that plays any and all games, having one system that lets you communicate and play regardless of your system with your friends. It was like when they came up with Trillion or those other compilation messenger programs that let you use more than one at once. Having a community makes games more fun and makes games have a longer lifespan. I mean, that is why World of Warcraft is still, let me scroll this down, is still going. That is why games like Dark Age of Camelot have an average, or I should say have an on average of 4 accounts per person, or that the average age of an Ultima Online player is 40 plus with between 6 to 8 accounts. Maybe Evolve and whatever and Battleborn wouldn't have fallen off the map if they could have at least had more than one platform to pull from for gameplay. Time will tell. Mr. Cody Clark, as I say every single week, brother, that you chime in and leave your opinion. It is just great to hear from you, brother. And I appreciate the fact that Cody is not afraid. He is not afraid to go the opposite direction. I love when people just, I love to be challenged on stuff. I love to hear the opinions of other people because they see things, everybody sees things, I should say, from a different point of view. So for Cody Clark, and once again, shout out to Goose, they feel like it would be a good thing to have more than one console all hooked up together. It could mean longevity for different games. I will say though, Cody, I gotta say, brother, we just to talk about it just for a minute, brother. Evolve, I really believe that game never got off to a good start out the block because they had so much different DLC that you had to get for each character. I just don't think people were really ready to dive in and spend that kind of money for what they were offering. But it could help. That's definitely a positive. Like you said, you can build a community around that if you have more players, if you're pulling players from different areas all into one, or I should say from different consoles all into one community, that definitely could help. So I definitely see your point on that, Cody. And it's duly noted, I should say, that is a true point that really could help. But my thing is this, Cody, this is my thing. And this once again is why I would have a problem with it. It's because, like I said, for me, everything comes down to competition. Everybody picks a certain console because it speaks to them in a certain way. For me, Xbox, I love the Xbox brand because of the online features as well as the controller and the different games that they have. So it speaks to me as a gamer more so than PlayStation, even though PlayStation has some amazing games that I have absolutely loved. And they're on fire right now with bringing out so many different titles. But they just, the controller isn't quite there for me. The online play, I know it's gotten a lot better, but it still just isn't, it just doesn't speak to me like the Xbox brand does. But putting all of that to the side, just getting to the main meat and potatoes of it, I just want it to be competition. And I feel like once you start, like I said, if you can play with somebody on the Xbox and they have a PlayStation, to me, it seems like that could have an impact on competition between the three of them. I understand Nintendo is going to be doing cross-platform with crossplay, I should say. Good grief. Crossplay with Microsoft, with the Xbox brand, which is great. That's great. But Nintendo, they're off doing their own thing anyway. So they're never, quote unquote, in competition with anybody. So for me, it just comes down to a competition thing. If you're all in the same ecosystem together, as it were, for these games, to me, I just think that could be a breakdown point for the different companies. A lot of people won't see it that way. A lot of people will just see it as it's just bringing a community, more people. And that's true. But for me, I just think once you start doing that, it could lead to problems down the line. That's all. And I mean, I could be wrong. Like I said, we're not all going to have the same point of view, but that's the point that I have. But either way, like I said, Cody, you make some great points, and you always do, brother. I appreciate it every time that you chime in and you tell how you feel. And that's the most important thing. But just for the sake of time, Cody, my goodness, I'm almost a half an hour in, and I'm going to try to save it, guys, and try to keep it to an hour. But Cody, thank you so very much, as always, for writing in and keeping this section alive of the podcast. Thank you, brother. So with that being said, let's see if I can save it, folks, and keep it at an hour or less. Challenge accepted. Here we go. Now let's get into it. let's get into the gaming news that went down. Now I know, I know this isn't really a game coming out in the States, right? But I was so blown away by it that I had to talk about it. The game is Fist of the North Star. Now, this game is actually being developed by the same Sega team behind the Yakuza franchise, and it's coming out February 22nd, 2018. All I can say is if you were similar to myself and you loved 90s anime, you are very familiar with Fist of the North Star. That doggone anime was amazing. I'm up here sloshing all on my words and whatnot. That was one of the greatest animes I had ever seen. Fist was amazing with the 1,000-punch combo and people just blowing up and whatnot. I mean, God dog, it was something special. The closest thing that we had to Fist of the North Star back in the day that could replicate what that anime was a game that you guys may remember that was on the Sega Genesis called The Last Battle. That was, Fist of the North Star. That was him. And it didn't do a great job. I had the game and he did the 100 punches, the sound that he would make, but it didn't do it any justice. You guys go on YouTube, type this in, Fist of the North Star PlayStation 4 game. Oh my goodness. This game is dynamite. It is fire. It looks so good. It's a game that I am seriously considering importing because it looks just that great. It's so reminiscent of that anime, of that movie where, just the motion, the characters. Jago is in there with the mask on. Oh man, he got the 100-punch combo going and it's amazing. Just go over there, look this up, and tell me what you think. Matter of fact, I actually put it, I almost forgot, darn. I put it in the Facebook group, the Analog Circle Facebook group. Go over there, check it out, or go on YouTube and check it out. I just want you to see it. This game, like I said, if you are a Fist of the North Star fan of the anime, and you have been waiting for a real Fist of the North Star game, just look into it. Just check it out and tell me what you think. Awesome looking game. But with that being said, let's move on to the next story. Now, I'm late on this, okay? Because I was gone all week, for the trucking or whatever. Anyway, let's not even concentrate on that. I want to talk about some big news that came out the week before. Oh my goodness. And you guys know what it is. Red Dead Redemption 2. Woo! Brother, I saw the trailer. I will say I was hoping for a little bit more. I was hoping that Rockstar was going to come up off of some of the characters' backstory or, showing some real actual in-game gameplay, maybe showing the environment, just some kind of character development, maybe just something more than what they showed. But one thing is for sure that we could gather from that trailer is it is in fact a prequel, which I guess it kind of makes sense because how much further could they have gone with John Marston's son when at the end, well, golly, that might be I don't know if that's a spoiler or not. Darn it. Let me tread carefully from this point, but let's just say that where the game wraps up, that was basically the end of the Wild West. Things were starting to calm down and things were becoming more modernized and everything. So they couldn't have gone forward with that branching story path. But the interesting thing is it looks like you're going to be going into Dutch's gang. And like I said, no spoilers, but yeah, it looks very interesting. I think John Marston is going to be in this game, which would be even more amazing because it would be at a different time in his life, showing when he was actually out there doing what he was doing. It looks like it's going to be heist in the game. In the trailer, when you see the train come up and you see the bandits hiding behind the trees, ready to go ahead and heist the doggone cars. It looks great. It looks so good. The train cars, that is. It looks so good. They show one scene where it looks like you're robbing a bank. I mean, the main character, this guy looks like he's going to be a piece of work. He really does, man. So I'm very, very interested in seeing this game finally come out. Once again, it's still slated for spring 2018 release. I'm hoping Rockstar keeps with that date, but we never know. Rockstar is infamous for taking their games and pushing them out. So hopefully this time they have a date. It's going to come out in spring, which to me, spring is not that far. We're already in October, folks. This year is basically out of here. So spring is not far off. Anyway, very, very cool trailer. I just belched. Hopefully I didn't get y'all ears. But very cool trailer. I enjoyed it. I thought it was definitely good. I just thought it was lacking a little bit. I just wanted a little bit more from the characters. That's all. I mean, we waited a year for this, Rockstar. Could you have thrown us more than just a little fish bone, brother? God damn. Anyway, moving on into some Nintendo news. Ah, man, Nintendo, brother. God dog. Well, here we go. Nintendo has updated the creators programs. The program's rules, where now members can no longer live broadcast on YouTube. Ah, darn. Now, if you're not familiar with the program, it gives streamers a way to get part of their Nintendo videos ad revenue. Now, in order to be a part of the program, you have to have at least 10,000 public views and get approved for YouTube's partnership. Now, to be clear, I want to definitely make sure this is crystal clear. You can still post gameplay videos, but if you want to if you want to post live videos, you have two options. You can live stream on a channel not affiliated, that's right, not affiliated with the program, or pull your channel from the initiative entirely. Now, if you do that, you can register any of your work that contains a Nintendo IP on a per video basis. But the downside is you only get 60% of the ad revenue, whereas a member channel, you get 70% of the revenue. So, Nintendo with their freaking rules, man. I don't understand why this is a problem. And yeah, I have a Switch, but I'm not switching sides. Nintendo, I understand that you want to protect your IP. I understand that, you want to make your IPs be seen in the best light possible. I get that. But come on, it's 2017, Nintendo. With things like this, it's like Nintendo takes all of these great steps forward, but then they do something to take it back a little bit. And I understand that it's their IP, it's their intellectual property. They can do what they want to do with it. They have, all of the control over it. I get it. But you never hear about Microsoft or Sony ever tripping when somebody live streams a Halo or live streams Uncharted. You just don't hear about these things. Nintendo, I think, and like I said, I'm not an executive. I don't know how the inner and outer parts of this thing works as far as the company goes, but good grief, Nintendo, could you lighten up a little bit? Jeez, me Christmas. And then they only getting 60% of the revenue and Nintendo, look, man, 2017, almost 2018. That's all I'm going to say. Get with the god doggone program. Moving on for the sake of time. In Assassin's Creed Origin news, while the campaign will focus on Bayek, there will be another mode available entitled Discovery Tour Mode, where you will be able to pick from a cast of both male and female characters to control. Now, this mode completely removes combat from the game and concentrates on learning more about ancient Egypt and going on guided tours. Now, I will say this. Now, I don't think that Assassin's Creed Origins is a VR title. I don't think. But if they added a VR mode into this actual section of the game, this mode, I think that would be awesome. Because like I said, it's supposed to get you more entwined and up to speed about learning about ancient Egypt. That could be so dope. And this game looks really polished. Like I said, I hadn't been into Assassin's Creed until this year when I had actually finished. I finally beat it. God dog it. What was that? Assassin's Creed Unity. Beat it. It wasn't as, I'm not going to say it wasn't as bad as people said. I'm playing it like almost 3 years later after release. But it was a good game. I enjoyed it. Assassin's Creed Origins, that's definitely a day one for me. It looks great, very detailed. I'm really excited about this mode as well, to learn more about ancient Egypt, maybe discover some what do you call them, caverns, or going to the pyramids, or, you know, just looking around and finding some cool stuff to say. So kudos to you, Ubisoft, for putting this mode in there. I'm sure it's going to be great. Now, moving back into some more Nintendo news. Now, Nintendo has started a wave. Well, actually, this ain't even really Nintendo news, but it's, I guess, Nintendo inspired. But they've actually started a wave with this mini console thing. You know, the Nintendo Mini, the Super Nintendo Mini has been doing very, very well. So much so that the Commodore 64, God dog, haven't heard of this in a long time, is getting a mini version that's coming out in 2018. Now, it will feature an HDMI port, 2 USB ports, 64 pre-installed games, and a classic joystick. And get this, I would not recommend this stuff, but this is what they say. They say if you want, you can use it as a home computer, which allows you to write programs and games if you plug in the keyboard. Now, you may be wondering, how expensive is this going to be? Well, it's going to retail for $69.99. Now, I would say I wouldn't recommend trying to use it as a computer. I'm sure that is probably like a 186 processor. Some of you younger guys probably haven't even heard of the Commodore 64. I had one years ago, and I had begged for my parents to upgrade us to the Amiga 500. I wasn't going to do it. You know, but this is interesting. I more than likely will not be picking this up, probably. I might get, I don't know, man. I don't know. I wasn't a big Commodore 64 fan. It was very interesting at the time. Some of the games that they had were actually pretty decent. I remember having a game that was called Barbarians, and it was a gruesome game. Now that I think of it, I mean, you were actually beheading people in that game. It was pretty graphic at the time. I mean, crazy. I never really saw blood in a game until that, or, you know, you could go back to Splatterhouse back on the TurboGrafx, but I didn't have one back then. But yeah, anyway, Commodore 64 fans that have been waiting for this, go ahead and get ready to pick it up. 2018. No date has been set, just a year. And for someone that actually wants to write, you know, programs, maybe they have a tutorial in there that could teach you. That might be actually kind of cool. So depending on how much you can do with it, which I don't think you're going to be able to do but so much. But, you know, depending on that, it might be worth getting. Anyway, moving on to the next story. Some Microsoft news. Now, for people that are in the Xbox preview program, it looks, and this is great news, man. It looks like game gifting is being added. Now, this news came from a Xbox One subreddit from user Liam Curtis 1718, who posted the title, and I quote, "Game gifting is here," with a pic of Titanfall 2 Ultimate Edition, including a buy as a gift option. This is fantastic. I'm so glad that Microsoft is doing this. This really shows that Microsoft, they are listening to people. Now, I know on Steam, this has been an option for quite some time for Steam users where they have been able to do this. I think this is a great move by Microsoft to actually bring this to the console space. This is excellent. You have someone that you want to play a game, like let's say Cuphead, and they're not convinced. You just hit that button that buys a gift option. You go ahead and string it over there to them and say, now play the game, brother. Enjoy it. So I think this is great. I just hope that it will become official. Because we know in the preview program, just because it's in there, it doesn't mean that it's going to come to the actual store itself. So hopefully this is a feature that definitely gets picked up, and we'll have that option sometime in the future. Moving on into some PlayStation news. Now, President of Sony Interactive Entertainment, Mr. Andrew House, has resigned from his position. Now, this is his official statement, and I quote, "I'm tremendously proud of what we've built with PlayStation and Sony Interactive Entertainment, entertaining millions globally with the best in games and creating a fully fledged digital entertainment company. PlayStation has been a huge part of my life for more than 20 years. But with the business having achieved record-breaking success, now seemed to be the right time for me to pursue new challenges." End of quote. Now, House, just a little bit of his background with Sony. House actually joined Sony back in 1990. In the corporate communications department, and then ran the marketing and communications for Sony Computer Entertainment in 1995. But he became president of Sony Interactive Entertainment in 2011, actually replacing Mr. Kaz Hirai, Mr. You'll get a second job for PlayStation 3. Now, he will be replaced by a gentleman that goes by the, well, doesn't go by the name, but his name is John Codera, who has been leading Sony's network business since 2013, and it has also been said that he has been responsible for the company's overall business strategy and product planning. So, Mr. House, I thought his time was well spent there. I mean, when you're with a company that long, since 1990, that's a pretty long stretch. What's that, 27 years? That's almost retirement years. So I guess similar to the gentleman before him. Well, nah. That was another position. I'm about to think of the other cool guy. I can't remember his name. I'm not going to bore you guys. I'm on the clock. But I think this is just an evolution of what he's done. He's leaving the company in a very great standing, 27 years, I guess, of doing the same thing or having yourself with the same place. Sometimes people want to change a pace. I don't think it's anything wrong with that. And I wish him well. I think he's done great. Hopefully this guy, John, he'll come in, he'll fill the shoes, and he'll continue with putting the company in the best position possible to keep bringing the best interactive entertainment to the PlayStation 4 and making these fantastic deals that Sony has been doing over the past 4 years. They've done great. So Hat goes off to Mr. House for all of his hard work and dedication, and I definitely wish him well on his new endeavors. Moving on into some more PlayStation news. Now, it looks like Sony is showing no signs, and I mean no signs, of slowing down this year, because in a PlayStation blog, now this is pretty interesting news, I must say so myself. And a PlayStation blog, God dog it, they said, and I quote, "Big new game announcements and updates," end of quote. Now, if you don't know, this is in reference to their conference being held at Paris Games Week. Now, if you weren't aware, it starts on October 30th, and it will start, the time that is, at 3 p.m. GMT time, which actually stands for Greenwich, which means that's around 4 hours ahead of our time. And it's going to start at 4 p.m. CET, which is Central European time, which is 5 hours ahead of us. So, yeah, I guess that's going to be 4, 3, 2, 1, 12, 11 o'clock or so at, God darn, that's going to be kind of early. I don't think I'm going to catch that. But anyway, that's happening. I have botched this part of it. But anyway, moving on. Well, before we move on, I think this is really cool. I know that the first time I heard of Sony doing this was, last year at Paris Games Week. So this is still relatively new, but for them to say that big new game announcements and updates are coming at that show, that says to me that, hey, maybe Shenmue just may get a release date. Wouldn't that be crazy? Because we all know that Yu Suzuki, he skipped out on E3. So who knows? Maybe he'll show up there and he will have something, at least a date. Maybe the remake of Shenmue might be announced there. It could be very interesting, but either way, October 30th, this is happening. Wow, that is not that far away, folks. So just stay tuned. Now, in more Sony news, god darn, Sony was on a roll this week. This is actually related to some Horizon Zero Dawn news. Now, a complete edition will be released on December 5th for $50, which will include the base game, the Frozen Wilds expansion. It'll also include weapons, resource packs, a PlayStation 4 theme, and a digital art book. Now, this game, I'm going to say this, Horizon Zero Dawn, I have it. I just got out of childhood, I should say, into adulthood as an adult Aloy, and I haven't played much past that point. But from what I played, I enjoyed it. It was cool. I mean, I'm probably no more than an hour in, so that's very, very early to judge it, fully judge it. I'm going to get back to it eventually, but like I said, well, I didn't say it, but I'm saying it now. If you haven't picked it up, $50 and you get all of the DLC, some extra weapons, you get a digital art book. That's worth it, man. Definitely. So be on the lookout for it. Yeah. What's that? Once again, December 5th. Now, moving into this is actually old news now, but I gotta bring it up. According to Epic Games, 7 million people have played Fortnite Battle Royale. 7 million. My thing is this now, if you're not aware of why this is actually very interesting news, it actually could be for a few reasons, but the main reason is they ripped PUBG's idea. I mean, how much more? I mean, it's nothing more you can say. They took PUBG's idea, and just ripped it. They said, hey, look, we understand y'all are using our engine, the assets, but we need to borrow that right there. So Epic took that same system. I forget what you call it. I forget what the system is. the actual play type, I should say. But they took that mode and they put it into Fortnite, and it seems like it has really worked out in their favor. Now, I have to say that this mode that they added, it's free. So this doesn't actually equate into dollar sales, but I think it's a positive because it does give their game more relevancy. Now, Fortnite was always supposed to be a free-to-play game, according to Epic, but they had released it early for a price just to get some feedback and, to see how the game was coming along. And in my opinion, just to get a couple extra bucks, but it will be going free-to-play next year. But with them having this mode in the game, man, their name is it's ringing out there. 7 million? I don't know if that's a true number, but that's what they're claiming. So, if PUBG, who was that, Bluehole, I think that made PUBG, I think that if they had just kept their mouth shut, they would have had no problems. Fortnite's name would have never got as big as it was if they had just not given this any attention. But at the same time, I can understand why they're upset. I didn't understand it at first, but they had a contract with Epic. And, some kind of way, I forget the ins and outs of it. I'm not going to make myself look any worse by trying to explain something I can't explain. But I could understand why Bluehole had a problem with it. Now at this point, I'm rambling, so I'm going to get out of this story. But, actually, we're into the last story. Yes, I did it. Now, in Capcom news, Street Fighter V Arcade Edition will release January 16th, 2018. Now, it will include arcade mode, of course, because that's the name of it, Arcade Edition. It's going to have arcade mode, extra battle mode, a gallery of illustrations, and a new redesigned user interface. Now, it will sell for $39.99. Now, if you want, or I should say now, if you own Street Fighter V already, you will get the new modes and the UI improvements, but not, and I repeat, not the DLC characters. So, Capcom, they continue to try to keep this game alive. But isn't this the Capcom way? Doesn't every game get a remake, a remix, a redefining, a repaint job? Every game Capcom does. This is what they do. They will bring something back up that was old and try to make it brand new, resell it to us. They have done it for years now, years on top of years on top of years. And they just don't show any signs of slowing down. But either way, this is the new trend for them. Hopefully it works. Street Fighter V was not very well received. But hopefully with some of these changes, they can actually do some good for the game. But with that being said, guys, that is the end of this week's news. Now, it's not going to be a video game theater this week. Oh, no, because I want to just jump into the main question of the week. Yes, I want to ask you guys this question. Now, I was thinking about this, and you guys tell me how you feel. And this may come off a little controversial, but I want you guys to hear me out with this question. Now, I want to know, in your opinion, who had better leadership, Don Mattrick or Phil Spencer? Now, hear me out about Don. Now, we understand Don has said, he said a very crazy statement when he was asked about the online only feature, being online. He said, if you can't be online, we have a console for you. It's called the Xbox 360. A horrible move by Don. And we highlight that most of the time. We also highlight the fact that He was concentrating on TV and games were taking a back seat. But I want to share with you guys some stats that Don actually made. Now, Don actually joined Microsoft back in July of 2007 as a senior vice president. Now, these are some of the things, these are some of his accolades. He actually helped develop Connect, and it sold over 8 million units in 60 days, actually making it to the Guinness World Book of Records. On top of that, he grew the Xbox from 10 million players to 76 million, and then grew the memberships, Xbox Live memberships, from 6 million to 48 million. Now, we also know this about Don Mattrick. During that time period with Microsoft, the way they were maneuvering, they were locking down DLC deals, exclusives that were exclusive on the platform. They stayed exclusive. Mass Effect, the original Mass Effect, didn't get to PlayStation until years later. BioShock, the same thing, didn't get to the PlayStation until years later. To me, it seemed like Don, whether you were with them or against them, with some of the antics that were going into the Microsoft brand, it looked like when it was something that was going to be exclusive, it was locked down and almost like lock and key. Whereas with Phil Spencer, we know he has a different outlook on that. He said on record that he's not into making exclusive deals. He's not into keeping games off of a platform. Whereas under Don Mattrick's watch, we saw quite a few games stay on that platform, on the Xbox platform. And when you look at the numbers with the Xbox 360 and how he grew it under his watch, you can't knock the numbers. Phil Spencer has done an amazing job. I take nothing away from what Phil Spencer has been able to do to turn the Xbox brand around. Because, in all honesty, Don Mattrick, he didn't do a good job at keeping the Xbox brand in the good graces of gamers. So Phil had to turn the ship, that was shipwrecked into something that was floatable on the sea. So I don't take that away from Phil. I think he's done an amazing job, shifting the tide. But the thing that I have to critique Phil on, and I mean, I'm a nobody that doesn't know the business of gaming, the ins and outs and all of that stuff. But just as a fan, as somebody looking from the outside, because that's all I can do, is be on the outside looking in. I think that at this point in the game, Microsoft is letting too many games slip through their cracks. Like under Don Mattrick's, under his leadership, you didn't hear about Xbox 360 games being on PC. It was never something that was out there and people knew, well, I don't have to buy Xbox, I'll just get it on PC. You didn't hear about, a lot of these games, like I said, going over to the competition. Whereas Phil, Tomb Raider's been over there on top of several other games that are making it. Max, Curse of the Brotherhood is coming over there. PUBG is coming over to PlayStation, and they're trying to do an extension on it, but who knows how that's going to work out. But we'll see. But that's the question I want to know. As always, you can chime in by calling 443-261-4607 and leave your opinion, or you can email the show at the Analog Circle Podcast at gmail.com. Once again, guys, like I say every week, this is so appreciated. Thank every last one of you guys so much for tuning in and showing your support. And with that being said, we're going to be gone for this week, but we will be back again next week. But until then, remember, always, it's not about the consoles, it's about the games. You guys take care. Be safe out there. Bye-bye.